Well, listen, since we're here,
Yeah.
I'd really love to talk to you about your personal struggles and personal experiences with body image.
Yeah, absolutely. It started at a very young age. And I want to say, I've mentioned a few times in this interview about my dad and not necessarily painting him in the greatest light. And my dad's no longer with us, and he can't defend himself. So I wanted to say that like my dad and I have made amends before he passed away. And my dad, I think that when I look back on my childhood and everything, I think my dad was just trying to protect me and give me the best life that he knew how to provide.
Sure, sure, sure.
So, but that said, my dad did say some things to me and my brother when we were growing up that has affected me, and to this day, it still affect me
Long term, yeah, long
long
term
term.
affected, yeah.
Yeah, and that was when I was a so again, right? So we've talked about coming out and the issues that I struggled with being in the Midwest with being gay. Um, and then also I briefly mentioned that I was molested by a family member, not my dad, but by a family member between the ages of about 8 and 10. Well, at the same time that all of this is happening, my dad said to me that I was fat and ugly, in more or less words. And
Yeah, yeah.
that was tough. Dad, it was definitely a product of the 90s health craze. Everything was fat free, and he was
Sure.
very regimented. And I definitely get some characteristics from him as far as like being regimented with diet and exercise. That has just been kind of drilled into me. But when he said that, that hurt. And my immediate reaction
Of
was I wanted to
course.
rebel
Oh my
against
gosh.
that. Yeah, I wanted to rebel against what he said. And I was like, well, I'm going to be fat and I'm going to be ugly, blah, 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 blah. But then, of course, as you start getting into middle school and you're growing up and you're feeling yourself out, it's like you want to be attractive. You want to be ugly.
Literally.
And
No,
you can
again.
be, yeah, yeah. But also, it's important for people to know that you absolutely can be attractive and be any size. Like people can be attractive at any size, any skin color, any ability. Like there is beauty in diversity in all of this, right? Like, and so it's unfortunate that it was instilled into me that I had to be a certain way, a certain size, a certain type to be attractive. And that's something that I've struggled with my entire life. And I know that some people kind of roll their eyes when I talk about this because they look at me being like this white gay guy, and I'm grouped into a lot of these very vapid people sometimes that have not been very kind, who I'm sure probably also deal with their own insecurities, but probably never talk about it publicly. But um, but yeah, so once I started hitting middle school, high school, that's where like the yo-yo weight, like I'd drastically lose weight, and I would do all sorts of unhealthy things to lose weight. I don't want to say it was bulimic because I know that that's like an actual disorder that people experience, or I don't, maybe it's even considered a disease. Um, I was able to stop it. And from my understanding, it's something that people still struggle with or struggle with their whole life. So I don't want to sit there and say it was bulimic, but I definitely experimented with that type of behavior in high
Sure, sure.
school. I over exercised. I and then the opposite of that, I would do all these really extreme things, and then I would stop cold turkey, and I would just eat all the time and
Sure.
not exercise and not do anything. And it was just a vicious cycle, and it was
Yeah.
so hard for me. And then of course you're then being fed all of these things about diets, and do the Atkins diet or do the South Beach diet or do what it was that people do now, keto or whatever. And by the way, I'm like no health and wellness expert. I do work for I work for the YMCA, so like it's a health and wellness facility, so I'm grateful that I have access to some um, uh, things that help me
Some
understand
resources. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
resources. Yeah. But I myself am not a health and wellness expert. So like I always get weird when people like are
Yeah.
asking for advice. I'm like, don't ask me. But
We
yeah. But yeah, it's just been it was a journey my whole life that I struggled with. So
well, yeah, no, I mean I get that. I mean, but I mean, you must take it as a compliment that people maybe come to you for the advice because they see that you've been successful in your own personal journey to
yeah,
get to where you are now.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it is a huge compliment, and I'm always happy to help people um with the resources that I used, you know. So my friend Kara is a dietitian, and she was the one that helped me, because I've loved exercising for quite a long time. I would say for the last 10 years I've regularly exercised. I personally love it. I know not everyone does, but it's just something to keep me active, and it does it not only physically but mentally. It helps me out, and just I personally enjoy it. But when I reached out to her, because I just wanted to, I was like, I just feel like I can be better about eating, not just in the sense of like I wanted to lose some weight at the time, but I was just like, I feel like I need to just be a more balanced in my life in general.
Sure, sure.
And so that was super helpful. And then I was lucky enough to befriend someone who is super, super close to me. His name is Jeff, and I often share his stuff on my page. Jeff Beach, RED registered dietitian, shout out.
Yay, Jeff Beach.
Yeah, but he has also been a huge instrumental uh, part in you know, helping me learn how to eat, which is really bizarre, right? One of the most natural things that we can do is eat. We aren't taught how to
Right.
eat a balanced diet and how
Right.
that
Well, I think yeah, totally. Sorry. Yeah. I know.
yeah,
I think that the narrative in media is the workout method and strategy. It's like, yeah, that's part of it, but I think obviously, as you know, and we know that nutrition is just as big, if not bigger, a part of that journey if you're trying to get into a specific physical shape.
right, yeah,
But we
absolutely.
don't get. But my point is that we are not always given that knowledge. We're not always given those tools about nutrition.
You're
We're
not.
only told you need to get on the treadmill, you need to get on the stairmaster, you need to run this many miles a day, and if you don't, you're lazy.
Yep, and it doesn't help
And
when you
you know
have
what I
all
mean?
the, yeah, and it doesn't help that when you have these health and wellness influencers saying like do this exercise or drink this shake or take this supplement and you're going to look like me, when
Right,
that's not
right,
the case
right,
at all. Like,
right.
you know, it's
One,
very,
you got to find what works for you too.
absolutely, absolutely. And so that all said, growing up in the LGBTQ community, specifically the gay community, having the body image, it's tough, right? Because like in the 80s, that's where like the whole like buff body Adonis mentality really
Really
started.
originated, yeah.
Yeah, because gay men wanted to look like that because it meant that they were healthy
Attractive
and
and
well,
healthy, or
attractive.
well, healthy. Yeah, you're right because of the AIDS epidemic and everything. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And so that
which
not
therefore meant that they were available, safe, and attractive.
exactly, and that
Yeah,
has stayed with us, and
it has. Yeah.
it
Isn't
has
it crazy how long it can take to break a certain mentality
it's
within a community?
it's so fucked. Sorry, I cussed.
That's okay. No. Well, but do you ever find? Let me ask you this, because I don't want to talk too much about me. But I share a lot of the sentiments and a lot of the challenges that you brought up.
Mhm.
I've personally yo-yoed and or roller coastered my way in regards to my physical physique.
Yeah.
You know, and I was a professional dancer for years, so if I always felt like if I wasn't getting the pressure from the gay community to look a certain way, I was getting it from the show business community because that was like my livelihood. I had to look a certain way in order to work.
Right.
Um, and this wasn't something that came natural to me. I mean, and again, I hope you don't mind. I'll share something, but
Yeah, please.
my mother is no longer with us either, and I
Mhm.
know she was. In retrospect, I know she was doing the best she knew how to do at the time,
Yeah.
but she used to say some very hurtful things as well.
Mhm.
And I mean, I remember even being in like fifth grade elementary school and her taking me to a doctor to get diet pills because she said I needed to lose weight and like those types of things that even though it didn't come from a malicious place, if anything, I think she thought she was coming from love. um it stays with you,
Yeah.
you know, like you then say to yourself, I'm not good enough if I look like this. I
Mhm.
won't be loved if I look like this.
Yep.
I will never be successful if I look like this.
Yep.
And then you put these impossible expectations on yourself sometimes.
Mhm.
Um, and then sometimes you get so overwhelmed that you do fail because you just get stressed out, and then you go towards the comfort food or the comfort whatever, or whatever it looks like for everybody,
Yeah,
and so I'm just saying I can relate to the fact of it being kind of mentally instilled and mentally programmed in myself from a very young age that in order to be loved and successful, you must look a certain way. And if you don't, then you're a failure.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that's something that Jeff, my friend Kara, and also my other friend Kyle, who's also a dietitian. Kyle Stansberry, shout out.
Oh, hey, girl. Oh, hey, Kyle.
Hey, girl.
Send me all of their infos because I
Sure.
will tag them all. I really
Yeah,
will. Yeah.
absolutely. So all of them have been just so instrumental in having conversations with me about how so many things affect, people's weight and health and nutrition and diet and obesity and things like that. And that's why I always, when people come to me and ask me, for advice regarding health and wellness, I always recommend dietitians. And I especially recommend those three because those are the three that I've had
Sure.
personal and professional relationships with as far
Sure.
as
Sure.
these things. And I'm like, I understand that not that money is tight for a lot of people right now. I mean, myself included. We look at these as like an investments, right? And which we want to invest in ourselves. And I'm like, don't look at it from like, and again, actually, I don't think any of them necessarily specialize in weight loss. That's not what their specialty is. And also, I want to say that dietitians, these are people that go to school, not like it's not like an online course and get a certificate. They
Right. It's
are,
not like the physical trainers that have like maybe their NASM
yeah,
certification that they got over a
yeah,
couple weeks, and that's beneficial. I'm not knocking that, but
absolutely.
yes,
Right. You
I'm
need to
just
have that.
agreeing with you. Yeah, I'm just
Yep,
agreeing with you.
absolutely. But these people, they go to school, and I believe it's considered a master's degree for most of them. To be able to, they have to go through clinical work and everything. It's a very rigorous and an intense thing. So they know what they're talking about, and is what I'm trying to say. and
Yeah.
and it's super beneficial to do it because I mean you, again, this kind of ties back into when we're growing up being LGBTQ and we're unsure of our place in the world, we're thinking that we're not worth it. You are worth it, and your health is worth it. And
Right.
for me, I was like, I would rather invest the money or the time and the energy now while I'm still relatively young at a mere 26 at plus um but
Honey,
investing
look.
now.
First of all, you really do look like you would be 26. So
Oh,
don't
thank
don't
you.
act. Yeah, you really do.
Thank you. But I would rather invest in that now versus having major health issues down the road. And so it's super great. And so I just always encourage people, like, if you're interested in diet and nutrition and you just want to lead a healthier lifestyle, whatever that means for you, seek out a dietitian because it is so worth it in the long run. The information that I've received just within the last 6 months is mind blowing. So highly
Oh,
recommend.
that's great. Well, what is your take? This might be a little bit more of a difficult question,
Okay.
but what is your take on our community's stance on physical appearance?
Oh, yeah, that is a tough question. Um,
Because I mean, I guess I don't even think I need to explain. I know you know what I'm trying to ask. It's
mhm,
just I think that there, as gay men and women, um, and forgive me, everybody in the community.
mhm,
I'm not trying to be exclude anybody,
mhm.
but we are supposed to be. Hold on, give me a second. I might get in trouble for saying what I'm about to say, but I'm just gonna say it.
Say it.
We are branded as the in the community of inclusion.
Sure.
I don't personally feel that happens 100% of the time.
I don't think any.
Sometimes I think that even members of our own community feel bullied, feel
Mhm,
rejected, and actually unwelcome
mhm,
because of their physical appearance. I
mhm.
would love to know your take on that.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of us feel that way. Um, for our physical appearance, ableism is a huge deal. I have, I'm so fortunate. I don't know if you follow Spencer West. I'm like name dropping all these people right now, but
Girl,
like,
go ahead, promote, girl. Look,
but
we're on the Hey Girl podcast. Go ahead, promote, girl.
Spencer West has been really eye opening for me as far as educating things about ableism and disabilities within the LGBT community. If you don't know who he is, check him out on TikTok and Instagram. He is such an amazing, I mean, he does it all with such grace, but like, I can't imagine what that must be like to be a person with a disability and just be scrutinized and things like, and just constantly questioned, right? Like,
And it's probably a very polarizing experience because
polarized.
you don't feel like you fit in anywhere.
Yeah. And so I mean, so you've got ableism, you've got body shaming and body, this whole people judging you for your appearance and all of these things. It's tough. And I have to say,
You've got people on like apps that say like no femmes, no fats, no
right.
whatever. It's like
Who,
we're supposed to be the community of inclusion, which I know sounds great on paper with a big pretty bow.
yeah.
But I also know that we're all experiencing the human experience.
Hmm.
Um and and you can't be the community of inclusion only when it's convenient.
Exactly. And people always try to play the preference card. And I get that to a degree. Like,
Right.
we all have preferences, right? Whether that is nature, nurture, it's usually a mix of both. It's how we're
Sure.
raised. But there are certain things that we can unlearn, right? And unlearning is really important, especially in this day and age.
Oh, I
And
love the way you
so,
said that. Yes, yes.
yeah. And so you have to learn and understand that if you sit there and say, oh, it's like, I don't like, I'm just using this as an example. Like, if people say, I don't like black guys, it's just my preference. Well, you're excluding an entire community of people based solely on their skin color. You know what
That
I'm
they
saying?
have no control over.
They have no
And you're
control
and you're
over.
giving yourself the permission to
Yeah.
say something like that by just simply saying it's just quote unquote it's just a preference. It
And it's such a
girl.
right, it's such a cop out because it's just like, you know,
you're you're giving yourself permission. You're giving yourself a free pass.
right. And I think that is unfortunate. I will say, so, and I told you I have kind of a hot take that I don't see people talking about.
Talk. Let's go.
There is a side to this where there are people who feel othered, and I don't want to put words in anyone's mouths, but this is where especially when it comes to like this comes out more in line with body positivity and body types. I see a lot of people who feel like they are not the idyllic body, right? And I'm using idyllic in quotes because everyone's different. I think that you and I, and a lot of our listeners know that what is worshipped in not just in the gay community, but
But
in
what is celebrated in society in
celebrated
general?
are these
We get
rock
it.
hard, yeah, rock hard athletic bodies, right?
Yeah, we get it. Like we know society, not just our community, but society in general
Yeah.
celebrates youth and beauty.
Yes, absolutely. And so we celebrate these bodies, and what I have personally experienced that there are these people who only chase these types of people with these types of bodies, and victimize themselves when these types of people aren't interested for whatever reason, and they want to be like, you need to be body positive, blah blah blah. But I'm not seeing these people go after anyone that looks like themselves. They are strictly chasing that type of demographic. And that to
Mm.
me is also problematic in a way because I'm like, you're trying to act like you're this, I don't know, I don't know if it's a social justice warrior thing or what, but I was like, you're not, I was like, you're doing the same thing that you're upset with people for doing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
There's some hypocrisy there,
it's a lot
for
of
sure.
hypocrisy. So I get really frustrated with that. But just in general, I mean, like, I get that we all have preferences, but it's important to learn where those preferences come from. And if it's,
Yes. Oh, I love the way you said that. Yes. Yes.
and you're not going to learn that overnight. We need to stop expecting people to learn all of these things. And
Right.
learn or unlearn things in a matter of days or weeks, right? It takes time to figure these things out. It's good to be intentional about it. And so I think that our community needs to, I do feel like, at least in the circles that I see on my algorithms, because I'm mostly active on Instagram, I do see a lot of a lot of progress,
Yes.
but there is a lot of performative activism as well.
It is, yeah,
There is
and
a
I'll
lot.
agree with you on that. So, I mean, yes, moving forward is forward, but I
Hmm.
think it's valuable to bring up some of the other things that we just brought up as well.
Absolutely. But yeah, but that said, like I feel like I'm very aware. I'm like probably too self-aware of like all of the social movements and things like that, because I feel like as this influencer, and you mentioned it earlier, that I'm an influencer. I don't view myself as that just yet, because I don't I've not had any financial gain from my page, and I've always been under the impression that you have to have a certain type of a certain follower amount to be considered an influencer. And I'm not there yet. So
Okay.
I don't know. So I like struggle with that word,
So
but
what do
I'm
you if you
flattered
don't
with
want
it.
to if it's not influencer, what do you typically refer to yourself as?
A pop culture invigorator.
Oh, hey girl. Ooh, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. I got that little.
I think I'm gonna name the title "Pop Cult Girl Innovator."
There you
Because you know
go.
I have to have the
Yeah,
word "girl" as a pun in every title. You know.
perfect. I love that. That's perfect. Yes, absolutely. So
Yeah, you have to think about it before
I
you
know
say it
I
because
was
it
like,
doesn't roll off the tongue.
exactly. I'm just like tripping over my words.
No,
Um,
I did it too. You saw my face. I had to think about
yeah, we're like, wait,
it.
what? What?
What? Like I said, audience, this is us the first time having
First
this kind of
time.
kind of
Yeah,
a conversation.
absolutely.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Having said all of that and everything
Mhm.
that we've talked about in regards to body image, we know as spiritual people. Wait, actually, let me ask that. Do you identify yourself as more of a spiritual person or a religious person?
That is a really great question, actually. So I grew up in a very religious house. I had three different Christian denominations growing up. So I went to a Lutheran school. My dad's side of the family is Catholic, and my stepdad's side of the family is Seventh Day Adventist, and they're all very different beliefs. So I was very comfortable discussing and debating religion growing up. I should say Christian religions growing up.
Okay, sure.
Um, and so, um, and I thought I was a religious person. And then for a while I was like, I don't believe anything. Now that I'm getting older, and I don't know if it's just like me trying to like have a more peace of mind, as you get older, I feel like life just gets more stressful. So I'm starting to teeter towards more of a spiritual approach. I don't know what that means. I know that sounds very like blase faire, but it's just I definitely think it feels like that there's a higher power or a higher energy, whether that's governing us or helping us or what. That's just how it feels, but I haven't investigated that far. But so I would say I'm teetering more towards spiritual. I don't identify as religious, although I do find a lot of religion fascinating. um, I personally don't necessarily consider myself religious per se.
Sure. I
Yeah.
get that. I mean, listen, like I think as I mentioned earlier, I grew up in a very structured religious, organized religion environment.
Hmm.
And so I can relate. And I personally, I feel like this sounds cliche that like this where people are like I am spiritual, not religious, and it's just so it's been said so many times, but I do on its merit is true. Like that's at least how I feel. Like because I personally went through so many years of organized religion that where there were a lot of benefit to it. There
Hmm.
was a lot of exclusivity and bias and a lot of things that's a whole nother conversation type thing, you know.
Yeah.
But so for me personally, I definitely do believe that there is a higher power out there.
Hmm.
We don't we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I personally believe that our higher selves guide us and that we can meditate, and there's different energies. I believe in energy fields and
Hmm.
people's vibrations. So I think that falls more under the category of being more spiritual. I don't personally like to subscribe to any sort of narrative or idea that usually comes from organized religion that if you're this way, we need to hate you. You know what I mean?
Right, absolutely. And I'm the same way. I dislike organized religion because of that, because
Yeah.
of the ideals that, if you are a certain way, then you are sinful, immoral, and going to hell, or
Right.
whatever horrible afterlife you believe in. Yeah, I
Right.
don't like that.
So, considering everything that we've already talked about in regards to body image, our community, religion, spirituality, coming out, accepting yourself, loving yourself, all these ideals and things that I think are very valuable, and things that, yes, we should always be preaching to ourselves and to our peers that you need to love yourself from within first before you can experience any other amount of abundance and love from anyone else, right?
Hmm.
What is your take on, again, our community that tends to exclude people that are potentially overweight or are older or at a different stage in their life? Like, I'm curious what your take on that is.
Yeah, I think it's hypocritical, and it's hypocritical, and it's really unfortunate that for whatever reason people have these really shameful, hateful views on certain things. Um,
Do you
and
find it to be intentional, or do you think it's just subconscious old programming?
I think I definitely feel probably more of the latter. I'm sure
Okay,
you're
which is
always,
actually, go ahead. It doesn't make it better, but that's at least a little
yeah,
encouraging. Like
yeah,
to, rather than to think that somebody's deliberately like, oh, you don't have a six pack, you can't come to my pool party. You know
right,
what
right,
I
yeah. And I
mean?
definitely feel like you're always gonna have some like intentional bad apples out there, right? There's these people who are just
Right. There's not one size fits all answer here. I'm just curious
yeah,
what
but
your take on it.
but as far as like, I do think that there's a lot of old programming that we are trying to unlearn, and that's what's
Mhm.
really great about social media is that you do have a lot of resources at your fingertips, but it's important that people know how to use them the right way and know and lo I like this is something and this is someone as a meme creator that I cannot stand. Don't use memes as your sources of information. Like you don't
Yes,
use
very
memes
true.
don't use memes. Don't use anything on Instagram as your source of information. Let that thing that you found that jived with you, that resonated with you, be the catalyst that makes you go research further
And
and
form your own opinion.
form your own opinion. It's so easy for people on social media to share quick, blurbs here and there that they will half read. People want to always sit there and say that they've read it all. No, they did not. They
They
don't.
read headlines, is
You
what they
read
read. Yeah.
headlines, you will read one or two slides in a story. You're not going through
And they
people.
can be written in such an ambiguous way that it could be interpreted in
Yeah,
multiple ways. Yeah.
yeah. Instead, go to that last slide of the thing that you shared, go to the sources part, and then actually read the sources. And I'm saying that as someone who I don't always do that either, right? We're all human beings. We're all busy. We've got lives. We don't have time to research 24/7, right? But it is important because you have a lot of people who'd love to get on social media and act like they are holier than thou and that they are like these ultimate social justice warriors. And I'm like, well, hold on, you're not actually. And this is what that's why I brought up the performative activism earlier, because I have a lot of acquaintances, I'll say, that love to do that and love to act like they are these super informed people, and they love to call out people, and that's all fine and dandy. Like, I appreciate people trying to educate others, but at the end of the day, when I know, like, know them on a somewhat personal level, and I know for a fact that they are not like that, and I'm just kind of like, what are you doing?
Sure.
You're doing this for clout. And so, um but yeah, I think that all said, it is important that we take those tools and do some unlearning when you
Yeah.
can, and be intentional with that.
And it's going to take time. It
Hmm.
really will. I mean, we mentioned that earlier. I think that,
Hmm.
some of these, um I can't. I really hate to keep using the same word, but there's no better word. But these old programs,
Yeah, yeah.
take time to relearn. And I mean, so what is the solution? I think that to that question, it's the solution that we have to start. We preach inclusivity, but we also have to start actually taking action.
Hmm.
I think that's the responsibility on everybody. I think that's the responsibility on the media. I think
Hmm.
that's the responsibility in things like this, conversations like we're having. Um, and it just I don't know how I want to say this.
I feel like it's important to have conversation. It's important to have conversation and let people give people, and this is where I see too a lot of this is like people are going to mess up and say the wrong thing or say something that's problematic, but are trying to do better. And I do,
Right.
and I will say I do feel like at least in the circles that I've seen on my Instagram algorithms and whatever, it seems like people are trying to be better. They're not
Which
perfect.
I agree. Yes, I
They're
agree.
not perfect, and I think that we need to let people.
We
We
have
need
to
to.
hold space. We have to hold
We need
space
to
for them.
hold space for that, absolutely, because there, especially when tensions get really high. There's a lot of people who try to act like, how dare you say that? You're problematic. You're canceled. And I'm like, hold on.
Right.
If we really want people to learn and educate themselves and be an ally,
Then
even
there
with
needs to be the conversation. Yeah.
exactly, we need to have that conversation, and it's not just one conversation. It's going to be multiple,
Too
probably.
many. Yeah.
It's going to be many, and we need to start that within ourselves, in our
Hmm.
own communities as well. Like
Yeah.
it's not like me as a white cisgender able-bodied, you know, hot attractive gay man, I have to unlearn certain things that I've been taught, again, as we've talked in this conversation, me growing up believing attractiveness is one way, believing
Right.
health is one way, and I have
And believing that if you are those things, you deserve more. Or
exactly,
yeah.
because you then project those ideas not only on yourself but on other people as well, and so it's
Sure.
important. So I think that's why it's like having these conversations, being intentional about seeking out resources and things like that, and just learn, educate and unlearn and learn and all of
Sure.
that. Yeah.
Well, what I think is great about this, and I hope you agree, is that after everything that we've talked about, and we actually kind of went in a deeper into a different direction than I intended us to.
Mhm.
But I'm glad we did.
Yeah.
Is that I think we can both agree that because of the current social climate,
Hmm.
I do believe we're in a very transformative era.
Yeah. Oh,
And
absolutely.
with that, there's so much excitement for what could come, but with that, we're things are coming to the surface, not just in our community, but in with even with Black Lives Matter and with
Mhm.
all of the horrific incidents surrounding Stop Asian Hate and everything. All minorities, we're finally coming to the surface, and even though it's painful right now,
Mhm.
there's an the, this now I hope this analogy doesn't sound too simplistic, but it's almost like cleaning out your closet. It's gonna look worse before it gets better, but at least we're doing the work.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
like we're I feel like we're in that moment where we are sifting through the muck of things, and we're people who were maybe blind to it before are finally getting they're finally opening their eyes to, oh crap, I never meant to be racist or elitist,
Mhm.
but I never recognized my privilege. I never recognized my privilege
Mhm.
until recently, and I'm so glad that we're able to have these conversations because I gotta say, even maybe 10 years ago, these types of conversations wouldn't get the media attention that they're getting now.
Right, absolutely. And that's something that I think that younger millennials and the Gen Z generation need to understand is that they assume that that life was the way it is now.
Right, because they've never known anything
They've never
different.
known anything different, and they need to understand that times have changed fairly rapidly, especially
Yeah.
over the last 15 years. very rapidly. It was not that way before. And so it's just important that people need to understand that when they do go back and reference certain things and see the way certain people talk and whatnot, they're not intentionally necessarily being a certain way. It's
They're
just
not intending to offend.
exactly. It just
But it was just the social climate at the time.
social climate.
You know,
A lot of these concepts and ideas weren't even talked about. So it's like,
right.
not in, at least not in like a mainstream way.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I mean, this isn't as heavy as some of the stuff we're talking about, but just as a fun example, I'll reference Sex and the City again.
you love it.
I do love the show, but I remember watching one of the reruns recently, and I have to say, no, I mean, no shade, but I have to say, there were some jokes there that did not withstand the test of time.
Oh,
There
for
were
sure.
there were some moments where the way they treated the Stanford character, the gay character, they kind of treated him like that he was just their accessory, and
Right.
I don't vibe with that anymore. But at the time, I guess it didn't bother me because the social climate was different. I
Right.
think that I personally don't even enjoy that term fag hag or anything like that. I would never call my best girlfriends that.
Right.
Even when they mean it in a playful way. But this is the part that I get a little passionate and excited about as well, is that I think we're not just members of the LGBTQ plus community, but actual heterosexual people are starting to awaken to the fact that those types of labels are actually derogatory.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny. And it's interesting that you bring up
Like,
this.
I don't call people that. I don't like the term gay bestie. I'm not your gay bestie. I'm your best friend.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
And it's interesting that you bring that up because especially with the term fag hag, because
Which I've never used, just to be clear.
okay,
I've heard people use it, and it's
yep.
okay if you have. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry,
No,
sorry.
no, you're fine. I was gonna say I have, but
I'll cut that
not
part out then. Don't
not
worry. So let's just start over.
well, I was saying, bringing up the term fag hag, it's something that I did used to use. It's a term I used to use. I haven't used it in a long time, and if I ever did say it nowadays, I would definitely use it as a joke because it's a silly term, right? It's dumb.
It
And
is a silly term, and we don't want to put weight on something that's just meant to be lighthearted. I'm just
yeah,
using that as an example
yeah,
of.
yeah, exactly. But what's interesting, and this is where I'm talking about like have changed so quickly, is I remember in 2009ish, 2008ish, 2009ish, Lily Allen it was a bonus track on one of her albums. It was a song called Fag Hag. And at the time was super progressive and very inclusive about, being so open about your gay bestie, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
so,
yeah, yeah,
and I definitely think that look at my sweat stains. Sorry, it's hot in here.
yeah. Ooh, girl,
Woo, get the
she is
hot
hot.
now,
Hey, get it, girl. Look, I'm in the desert, and
right?
I've got this jacket on.
Oh
So
my
yeah,
gosh.
I'm in Vegas. I got the air blasting though right now. The
Oh,
air
good for
conditioning
you.
blasting.
Good for you. And so, but yeah, it's just, and I think that her intentions were good, and I not that I listen to the song all the time, but like I when I do listen to that song, I definitely think it's tongue in cheek,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of that gets lost too. A lot of times is that people don't understand tongue in cheek type of references the way that we used to, especially behind a screen and in a meme, right? It's not always translated well. But that said, like, yeah, like I think we are in a space now where people are realizing that those types of terms weren't, could have been way worse, but they're not the compliment that they once were,
And it is.
When people say,
I think.
like when people say like, oh, we should go shopping. Do we?
I am not the girl to go shopping with. Like, I personally do not like shopping, but I'm gayer than Christmas at Bloomingdale's, but I do
Yeah.
not go to
I
shopping.
I like it, but it's not, but like,
I need to know exactly what I'm looking for
yeah.
and then
It,
get out. I don't. Yeah.
I just get exhausted after shopping. Like, because when I go, like, I just like a lot of times clothes fit me weird. So I'm in the store trying on things for like maybe 2 hours. I have spent times in the store like 3 hours trying on clothes just to make sure they
Yeah.
fit me the right way. And
Sure.
it's exhausting. But yeah, I just because I'm gay doesn't mean I want to be your shopping buddy. Sorry.
Right. And again, we can ignore. I think you and I. What is that? Okay. there was a study. You'll have to forgive me. I can't remember. I don't know if it was at Harvard or there was a sociological study done, and I can't reference properly the publication it came out in, but where they were talking about, Generation X prior to us, then millennials, now Gen Z, right?
Hmm.
And they were talking about people that fall into our age bracket, meaning me and you,
Yeah.
that we're kind of a little bit the older millennials, if you will,
Hmm.
but we're so close to what the young Gen Zers
Hmm.
or Generation X, excuse me, Generation XRs,
Yeah.
that they called there was like a 5-year bracket where they called us Zennials
Ah!
because we were so we yes, we're technically millennials, but technology and society progressed so rapidly
Hmm.
um, during the millennial generation that it's kind of hard to realistically lump us in with somebody who's like 24 right now. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Absolutely. Right. No, absolutely. It's so
um,
hard. Or even people younger. It's depressing.
yeah. And I think the reason I bring that up is that I think that, and I'm not trying to compliment us, but I mean, girl, no,
I compliment me. Compliment me.
compliment us, girl. No, I just think that we have, it's, not all of it has been easy for any of us, but I
Mm-mm.
also think that it's a blessing that we have seen the progression and transformation in a way that I don't think any other, you know 10-year age bracket of people have.
No.
Like I still remember rotary dial phones. I mean, okay,
Yeah.
right? Like, you know what I
Yep.
mean? Like, and
Yep.
um and I think, I mean, well, what do you I'm going to ask you this opinion, but just even in regards to queer culture being widely accepted in the media,
Hmm.
I credit shows like Will and Grace,
Hmm.
and oh god, now I can't think of another one. But I know there was more. But I mean, I remember when I was a really really young kid, and I remember watching Designing Women with
Yeah.
with my mom, and there was at that time it wasn't common to have a gay character, um, even definitely not as a regular on the show, but even as like in an episode in primetime network television. And
Hmm.
I remember there was an episode of Designing Women where there was a character, like a walk-on role that was a gay character, and I just remember it really struck me. And then it wasn't until years later that we have shows now that I think I think it's helped them. I think it's helped people, viewers, uh, understand more um, the lifestyle. Don't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that that is something that's really great with media, and we don't give it enough credit for, is that it really helps introduce ideas and different things to people, and it introduces them to a wide audience, right? So whether that's
Sure,
through
sure.
TV shows or music, um, and I would say, yeah, shows like Will and Grace, shows like Ellen, pop stars like Madonna and Cher.
Hmm.
I mean, who have very much catered and explicitly stated their support of the LGBTQ community
And even way before it was like
way
popular to do
before.
so. Yeah.
So if I can toot my own horn for a second, as far
Yeah.
one of my favorite memes or pieces that I've created, was a
Is
fairly
it the Madonna one?
it's the Madonna one,
Yeah.
where so there's
I remember it.
the whole meme. It's not really, well, yeah, I guess it's a meme. It's this meme where people say, it's like she understood the assignment, and it's usually like a pop diva being really fierce, right? Well,
Hmm.
I made one that said she gave the assignment, and
Yes, you did, and I loved it. I
it's
shared
a
it. I think a couple times.
yeah, and it's like a bunch of clips. It's a longer one. It's like a 4-minute clip or a piece, but it's a bunch of clips from Madonna that start back in 1991, explicitly stating her stance and support of the gay community. And again, and similar to Ellen, people didn't do that back then. They didn't.
Right? No, it
They,
was very rare, and
it,
if they did, it was, as you mentioned before, almost the death of their Hollywood career.
absolutely. And she was so adamant about preaching what she felt was right and what I think is right. And you see her in all of these interviews, and again, it stems back to 1991, and I'm sure there might have even been some earlier ones, but I couldn't find them, but at least not a video, I should say. And but she just keeps going. You see as the years grow, she's just same stance. She's like, we need to accept the gay community. We need to accept people for who they are, and you won't find another pop star or any other celebrity that was that explicit in their
Sure.
stance with the
Sure.
LGBT community until someone like Lady Gaga showed up. So
Right.
I know people love to compare Madonna and Lady Gaga, but that is something where I will say they are very similar in,
And Britney.
and Britney. But
Yeah.
even Britney, I mean, Britney supports the gay community, and but I would say,
But she also came out at a time, a little bit of a different time, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, she's
So
definitely.
I know what you I'm sorry. I know what you mean. The reason to compare Gaga to Madonna as
Oh
opposed
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
throwing
I
Brit
see what you're saying.
I'm just saying
Yep,
that.
I
Yeah.
told no, I'm sorry. I see what you're
Yeah.
saying now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but yeah, I would say their explicit um outspokenness for the support for the LGBTQ community is unmatched by any other pop star, and I think that we need that was really important for the gay community at the time, and now.
So let's talk about some more fun stuff.
Okay,
I mean, this is all fun, but let's talk
yeah,
about some more like lighthearted gay pride party stuff.
let's do it.
So the amount of passion that you speak about Madonna is how I feel about Cher. Like I
Of
just can't even begin.
Yep,
So
yep.
but just know it's there, right? So
I
I was
totally get it.
dying over that the video you made recently where you put on Ariana Grande's Save Your Tears for Another Day, and then you put Cher Save Up All Your Tears. I shared that like 6 times. Like I loved it.
Yes. It was for those listeners out there, I made a meme that says, I love the memes where it's like your something and then my something.
Just to
So
bridge that generational culture gap. Yeah.
exactly. And so I did, obviously Save Your Tears, the weekend featuring Ariana Grande remix is
Which I do love that song, but Cher's my girl that I'm sharing tears for,
yeah,
or
great
saving
song.
tears for. Yeah.
Exactly. So Cher has a song called Save Up All Your Tears. So just one day I was like, oh my gosh, this song doesn't get enough recognition. So I was like, oh, this will be a fun
Yeah.
meme to share. So I'm glad that you enjoyed that. Yeah,
Girl, I loved it. And you know what? One of my other favorite ones that's running, kind of racing to my mind is. Look, I'm laughing before I even tell the joke. That's
yeah,
how much joy it brings me. I love
I love
it.
it.
Is the one you made when they finally announced, and I say finally because for anyone who remembers this, the most recent presidential election was atypical, and
Mhm,
we waited almost a week to know the results.
mhm.
But was when you made the the one about when Biden was announced the winner, and you did something about like the whole world celebrating right now, and you showed that opened with that first clip of Moira Rose and from Schitt's
Oh
Creek
yeah, yeah.
going
That's
that is
so
such good news.
I know. And then it goes into like a super cut of all sorts of like celebratory
Yes.
pop culture. Thank you to Carly Rae Jepsen's "Cut to the Feeling," which we love.
Love that song. Oh my god.
We
I
stand.
almost want you to make just the beginning of that me. I mean, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but like
Make this.
I almost want you to make that just at least that one little part of the clip of like that is such good news. Fuck, I know. Like
Mhm.
when you say something like I'm going on the Hey Girl show. No.
Hey, hey, that's an idea. Maybe I'll
I
do
would
that.
love it.
Maybe I'll do
So
that.
I love it. Listen, I love it. What is I know we've already talked. Madonna, Cher, we're into it. What is it about? I got just a couple more fun questions for you. I know we've been talking for so long and you've been very generous with your time and I'm very grateful.
My pleasure.
Um but let's talk about some pop music. Like what inspires you other than Cher and Madonna because we've already talked about them.
Yeah.
Like give me some of your other I guess I would say let me make it a more direct question.
Oh.
Give me like your other five
Oh.
inspirational recording artists.
Okay, well, I talk about this quite often with friends, especially my friend Jeff, who I mentioned earlier, Jeff Beach.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Jeff. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, girl.
He's gonna stop talking about me.
Yeah,
He's
we
gonna-
need to get Jeff on the show. He needs to,
yeah,
like, if this was a live show, I'd be like, Jeff, can you call in right now?
yeah.
No.
He's gonna be like Regina George and be like, why are you so obsessed with me? Um,
But
but
didn't Mariah say that too about
she,
Eminem?
yeah, right, exactly, right, exactly.
Girl,
Um,
like me and you, I feel like me and you have a very similar taste in music, and I love it.
yeah. So obviously I love Madonna, I love Cher, I love Lady Gaga. Britney is a huge inspiration to me. I love her. I'm a big pop music lover, and I've always been. Ever since I really started getting into music when I was about 12, and I've just loved big pop music. And people always love to knock pop music, but I'm like, no, pop music is culturally very important. Sure, the
Sure.
songs can be frivolous, but I would say we don't give enough credit to a lot of songs, frivolous or not. But like these songs that are huge pop culture moments that have place in weddings, in going out with your friends, in having those nights out and enjoying people and good times, you know. Um, so yeah,
Well,
so
yeah, those are the experiences that we remember. Like, what's that? What is that? That famous Maya Angelou quote where she says, "People will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel." And
yeah,
I think that music, especially coming from, I mean, again, I come from a kind of a more of a marketing background.
mhm,
That's what we strive for when we're
absolutely,
creating experiences for people. Is what is going to stick with their emotion.
exactly. And so with I love a lot of pop singers and artists who create those feelings, right? So Britney is a good one. I love Robin. I love
Oh
uh,
yes.
yeah, I'm obsessed with Robin. I love oh my gosh, now I'm like oh Kylie Minogue. Kylie Minogue is huge in my world. Um I love Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey is also huge in my world. Like and people are like no shit, but like
Right.
yeah,
Well, no, it's not even cliche anymore because now there's so many younger millennials that are like Mariah who? Like you
right.
know
Yeah, they're like isn't she that Christmas bitch? Like
Right. They're like all they remember her for is all I want for Christmas, which
yeah.
by the way will never go away.
And I just
Every year we're gonna be listening to that song.
exactly for the rest of our lives. Which I'm not mad about.
I no, me neither, girl.
I just finished her book, by the way, and it is phenomenal. If you get a chance to listen to Mariah Carey's the new
Yes.
Mariah Carey, do it. It is you will not be disappointed. It's
Oh,
awesome.
I'm so not mad about that.
It's
I'm gonna
so
post a
good.
link to that in the episode too so people can buy it because
Yeah, it's
hey girl. Wait,
listen
but you
to the
didn't
audiobook.
so can I say somebody that you didn't mention that I just gag
I
over
have,
all the time?
yes, I have hundreds of
I
favorites.
know you have more.
Yeah,
I know. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Go Janet.
Oh my god. I'm like, first of all, it's homophobic that I didn't even mention her name.
Like the functioning gay just unraveled for a second. No, I'm kidding. No.
It was a full on hate crime that I did not mention her name. Um, I am. Can we talk about her for a second?
I'm
I
talking about her all day. Let's go.
am obsessed with Janet Jackson. Janet Jackson. Okay, a lot of the younger listeners out there, you guys don't know. Janet Jackson was like Madonna level before the Super Bowl.
Before that even existed, or before, I mean, in a way,
Yeah, but before the Super Bowl performance that we all infamously know, she was Madonna
with the
level
wardrobe malfunction.
with wardrobe malfunction. That event derailed her career for so long that so many people don't know her
It's
music.
so disappointing.
It's
Like
so disappointing.
her
And
impact on the industry, not just as a woman, but as a dancer, singer, performer,
mhm,
fashion icon, like everything. Like
songwriter, everything. And
everything.
her stage presence is I
It's
mean,
unfathomable. It's just there's nothing like it.
she's incredible. She's so graceful. She's another artist who very explicitly in her music um catered to an LGBTQ fan base. She has a song. So I love deep cuts. I love artist deep cuts. Like we all know the hit singles, we all know them, but I'm like you know when you love someone when you know the deep cuts. And on her Velvet Rope album, she has a song called Free Zone that is all about loving accepting who you are, and it explicitly talks about same-sex relationships, and she
I
talks
love
about
it.
bisexuality. In fact, there's a lot of bisexual themes in that album. But Janet is just absolutely incredible and does not get enough credit for everything that she's accomplished and everything that she has influenced. She is amazing.
Do you remember? Well, you do because you just brought it up. But in regards to the Velvet Rope tour,
Mm-hmm.
so um, I remember watching it on TV,
Mm-hmm.
and the audience needs to realize that. I mean, now, like, nowadays we're so used to performers. Well, because we just have so much more accessibility and we have advancement in technology. But
Yep.
we're so used to seeing performers do behind the scenes type stuff. But back then, it wasn't common.
Mm-mm.
Like, you didn't usually get to see the Velvet Rope tour on TV. I think it became an HBO special, but it was like one of the first ones they did of its kind.
Yeah.
So it was, it was a big deal, right? I
Yep.
mean, to be fair, I don't even think I don't even think my family had HBO. I think we like did a pay-per-view thing just so we
Sure.
could watch
Yep. Yep.
it.
It is a big deal.
And it was a big deal. And she filmed that the concert because it was a tour, but the concert that they filmed for TV for the TV special was at Madison Square Garden.
Yep.
Um, and I just remember, like, how like when you're a kid and you kind of just like lay on your stomach on the floor, but like this, like with your elbows on the floor, supporting your
Yep.
chin, supporting your
Yep.
head, and you're just because you just want to be as close to the TV as possible because you're just like sucked in. I think I don't know if I don't know if anyone else was this way, or maybe I'm just a weirdo. But I just was like, I wanted to be as close to that energy as possible, even though it was coming through
Absolutely.
a TV screen.
Yep.
Um, and I remember just being in awe of everything she did and everything the dancers did do because I was a dancer for years, so
Oh,
I was also
absolutely.
looking at that. And yeah, I mean, she did so much. She did so much. She elevated so much.
Mm-hmm.
So yes to her. But now let's talk about, and I don't mean this to sound offensive
Okay.
in any way, to the generation that's maybe the one generation a little older than us.
Oh, sure.
Um, but what do we think about some of the older queens? Are we into Barbara and are we into Diana and Aretha? Where
I
are we
have
at with them?
right. I have mad respect for all of them, but
Totally.
as far as listening to their music, I don't know much of Barbara's discography at all, and that's no disrespect to her. It's just the style of music that she sings just doesn't resonate with me. Like, and then as far as Aretha Franklin, I know her like bigger hits, but I don't know her deep into her discography. And same with like Diana Ross. Although this is super random, um, I on top of pop music, I love dance music, and there is an artist called BT or named BT that I am absolutely obsessed with, who did a remix of Diana Ross's "Take Me Higher" that is super hard to find now because
Yeah.
for all of the audience out there, you used to purchase music from a store on a thing
Oh
called a
yeah, you had to go to Harmony
CD.
House or Tower Records. Yeah. Do you
Exactly.
remember that?
Sam Goody or like what was it,
Yes.
FYE? Yeah.
But
Like
yeah. Wait,
yeah.
do you remember? This is great. Sorry. And I'll tell you mine, but you're going to go first.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first well, for me it was a cassette. I'm assuming it was the same for you, but maybe for you it was a CD, I don't know. What was the first album that you went and bought yourself?
That I bought myself because
Myself, yourself.
I was
Because
gifted
again, audience, this is before you could scream, excuse me.
right.
Before you could stream shit, and also I used to do the thing. You remember how? I'm sure you did it too. We would have our little two deck cassette boom boxes where we would be trying to record the radio,
Oh,
trying to catch the song we wanted, just so we
yeah.
could hear it again. Right?
I did that with the Backstreet Boys Black and Blue album. They were premiering it on a radio station, and I
Okay.
remember like as it was being released to stores, and so I remember like listening to the radio station. I was like recording. I was like, oh, commercials are like
Right.
like
And you don't get the full song, but you're still into it, because you usually miss like that first couple seconds of it. Yeah.
so my
But what was
first
the first one you bought?
first one that I bought. Oh my goodness. I don't know if I remember the first one I bought with my own money. I was a big, like, I also, on top of albums, I also bought a lot of CD singles as well. So I used to have a gigantic CD collection. I still do. I mean, I've like sold a lot or given a lot away, but I still have a relatively big collection for, this day and age. And I think that so I don't remember the first album, but the first CD single, I bought two at the same time. It was Mariah Carey's Honey and the Little Kim Not Tonight remix, like the Ladies Night remix that she did.
Oh my God, I loved that one. Oh, girl, I listen to that in my car all the time.
It is a summer bop. It is. Bop. It's perfect.
We need to bring that back. We need to bring it back to summer.
Angie Martinez, Lisa Left Eye Lopez, Debrat, and Missy Elliott all in one song.
Yeah, all in one. It was like, yeah. Oh my God, it was like that year or that decade's version of Lady Marmalade remake.
Yes.
The remake of Lady Marmalade.
Yes.
And my sister, I have an older sister. That I've never really mentioned on the show. So hey, Penny, but she's like 2 years older than me. And that was like her and her little squad's theme song. Her and her girlfriends was Ladies Night. You know what I remember? Yes. But that version of Ladies Night. Yep. Anyway, I remember going to the store. I had a little gift certificate to Harmony House.
Wow.
And I bought. The first cassette I ever bought was Michael Jackson, Dangerous.
Oh my gosh.
And my sister bought, because we both got like matching like gift cards for like a Christmas or something,
Yeah.
And she bought Paula Abdul Spellbound.
Oh my God.
Right? I mean, like we made some good. We had good taste.
Those are some good purchases. Those are both great albums.
Yeah, and then in regards to a CD, I do remember the first two CDs I bought. One, and it was Boys to Men 2.
Love. Okay.
And 3. I bought 3 at the same time because I thought I was hot shit because
I am buying music today, bitches.
Yeah, I was also like, I am upgrading from cassettes to CDs. Like you thought you were rich for some reason,
exactly.
Right?
No, for sure. Absolutely.
Mind you, I didn't even have a CD. I didn't even have like a nice CD player. I had one of the portable CD players with just headphones, right? Yep. And I bought 3. I bought Boyz II Men 2.
Love.
Ace of Base.
Oh my God.
And TLC, Crazy Sexy Cool.
Oh my God. Okay, so again, Jeff is going to be like, you're obsessed with me, but he references Crazy Sexy Cool a lot.
One of the best albums, like
so good.
Ever.
So good. Yeah, exactly. So
I
love that. Those are great purchases. Also, Boyz II Men 2, Water Runs Dry is probably one of my favorite songs of all time. I love that song.
Okay, so you already just answered my next question, but which I love. Great. So then let me try and rephrase it to get a different answer.
Okay.
Only because you've already answered the one I was about to ask you.
Well, wait, what were you going to ask me?
I was going to ask you what your favorite song of all time was.
Oh, that's not my favorite song of all time.
Oh, well, I thought you just said that. I misunderstood.
No, it's one of my favorite songs of all time. But
what's your favorite song of all time?
I don't know if I have one.
One, yeah, it's hard. It's hard. All right, top 3.
For me, I'm like, I could maybe do a top 10. Well, let me just throw this out there. I'll Always Be My Baby, my Mariah Carey, just holds such a special place in my heart. It is a summer song. It is. I remember loving that song. I have very special memories attached to hanging out with my cousins and my aunt and my grandma. Just going on family vacations and stuff like that with that song. So I love that. And I always joke that it's going to be, if I ever get married, it's going to be played at my wedding twice in a row. Because I just need it that much.
Just like in Schitt's Creek really, when they got married and to
really soak it in. I was like, it's such a great song. So I would argue that would probably be my favorite song of all time.
Okay.
But what are some other ones? Gosh, there's so
Just give me 2 more.
2 more. I'm gonna try to throw out different genres. Well, with Madonna, there's a song, a deep cut called "Skin" off of "Ray of Light."
Mm-hmm.
that was originally supposed to be, I believe, the sixth single off the album, and they ended up canceling that in favor to release "Beautiful Stranger" instead. So, fun
Yeah.
fact. Fun fact.
No, I love
Um,
it. But I
love.
also love that, not to interrupt, but I also love that you and I both agreed that that was our favorite Madonna album, was Ray of Light.
Yes, it's
Yes.
it. Listen to it
It's
today.
so good. Younger millennials, if you're listening, you need to check it out. Like,
It
and I know
is
I have listeners
timeless.
in like Saudi Arabia and like Croatia. Check it out.
Yeah,
No.
it is timeless. You will listen to it today, and it holds up perfectly. It does not, to me, it does not sound. You know how sometimes you listen to albums and you're like, oh, it's great, but like it's very of its time, you know?
But this withstood the test of time all
This
the
for
way.
the test of time, it is the perfect. It is the perfect blend of electronica and dance music with like world music and rock and oh my gosh, such a good album. So Skin, and I love Skin because her vocals are very strong in the song. The production's incredible, and it just builds and builds and builds to be this like electronic club orgasm almost. It's like
Yes.
truly when you listen to it next, the song just builds and builds and builds. Like the drums and everything that's like happens. There are sounds that I think it was like Marius DeVries was one of the producers on the song along with William Orbit. One of them had recorded sounds from Morocco to like put in the background of the song that you hear towards the end. It's really cool. So I love that song. That song is very special.
All
Very,
right,
very
so give me one more.
one more. Oh my god. I'm gonna say, okay, it's a newer song, and we talked about it already. I don't know if it would be like in the top three per se, but "Cut to the Feeling" by Carly Rae Jepsen holds a very
Oh, I
special.
love it. I love
It's
it. Yeah.
a great pop song. It's so fun and uplifting. But the reason why it holds such a special place in my heart is that when I lost my dad, it was 4 years ago this May. Um, when I lost him, he had his heart attack on May 24th.
I'm sorry.
And thank you. And I believe it was 1 or 2 days later, she released "Cut to the Feeling." And I remember a low quality snippet of the song had leaked online about
Hmm.
6 months prior. And I remember hearing it and being like, I need this song in my life now. And I remember,
Oh, I love
and I
that.
remember every week checking, like new music and seeing if it was released, and nothing was released, and it was never released. And so 2 days after his heart attack, and 2 days, meaning 2 days before he died, that song came out. And I remember when I had to fly out to Arizona to kind of say my goodbyes to my dad, and I listened to that song. I'm not kidding you, the entire way there and the
I'm
entire way
sure.
back.
Yeah.
This 4 hour flight or however long it was, the entire, because I was just I was my first time experiencing losing a parent, and hopefully the only time for a really long time. But yeah, I was just such a zombie that like I needed that euphoric,
Yeah.
fun pop song, and the chorus is perfect. So if Carly Rae Jepsen, if you ever hear this, thank you for giving us that gift of your song, and that's a perfect example of how these otherwise frivolous pop songs can make such a huge impact.
Oh, I love it. I'm like, I got like my heart, like seriously, when you told that story, and I, I'm gonna tell you a story right now, which I will probably edit out because I don't.
Sure.
It's about this show is about you, but I just want you to know, like,
Yeah.
I can completely empathize. It was like when my mom passed 5 years ago as well.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
So sorry to hear that.
thank you. But I remember, and I was racing. I was racing to get from Vegas to Detroit.
Hmm.
She had been in hospice, so I mean, we knew it was coming, but that's not. You're still never completely prepared, you know.
Right.
Um, and I was racing to get there, because it was one of those things where I already had a flight scheduled for I think a day or two later to go, but she declined so quickly and unexpectedly that it was like, no, 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 come now. And I remember just like rearranging things in real time the day of that, and like got to the airport. And as I mentioned, Cher, how much I love Cher. And
Hmm.
I don't know, at the time, that's not a song you just hear randomly every once in a while, right? And
Hmm.
I was at the airport, and they were playing Cher Believe
Hmm.
at the airport, and I just felt like it was like that universe giving me like a hug, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh
Because
my
I
god.
was racing to go see her, and
Yeah.
so I
Oh my
can
gosh. That's
I
beautiful.
appreciate that story, you know.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. It's like the music gods were like, you need this right now.
right, right. It
You
was
need
like,
this
you know, a
therapy.
hug
This is
from
some
her
healthy
or whatever, and you know, she couldn't quite hold on before I got there, so I never got to be there in time. But I think that was the way I interpreted that was that was that moment of like of
It was like,
just
yeah,
that loving moment of it's okay. I know you're coming. You're on your way,
oh,
and I need to let go now, though. You know what
that
I mean?
that's really special. Yeah, I'm so
So
sorry that that happened, but I'm glad that there was that you had that moment.
yeah, no, but we do, and so here's the thing, and thank you for that, by the way. But here's the thing: I think that people, I know we don't as creative types and as other artists that listen to this show,
Hmm.
they understand it. But I want to point out that you know the healing power of music is so underrated and undercelebrated because
Yep.
it really is a very healing emotional experience. It can give you the cry that you need. It can give you the laughter you need. It can give you the elation that you may be looking for in a moment. And it can just be celebratory. It's all those things.
It's all of those things and more. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is the sound. It truly is a soundtrack to your life, and
Yeah.
it's
So
really awesome.
so if you could pick one person to produce the soundtrack of your life, who would it be?
Oh, produced well, probably Max Martin. Max
Okay.
Max
Get it,
Martin.
girl?
For those of you that don't know who Max Martin is, Max Martin is probably the premier pop music producer, and you know all of his songs, ranging from he's produced songs for Taylor Swift, Backstreet Boys, Katy Perry, Britney Spears, Robin, um, Kesha, any gigantic pop song that you know. I mean, I think he's produced like over The Weeknd's Blinding Lights. He produced that song. So I mean, like, he's top notch. So I would absolutely love and be honored to have Max Martin produce an album for me. That'd be incredible.
I love it. So, all right, now, just to kind of start rounding things out, because we've definitely been talking for a while, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. The time has flown by,
Same.
but with a functioning gay, with
Yeah.
the brand, with the social media, tell me, like, what is your vision? What is your mission statement? What is the purpose of this? What is it that you hope people take from the content that you're creating?
Oh, that's a great question. Kind of what we've just been talking about this whole time. I mean, I think part of it is celebratory. I want to give people an escapism to laugh or smile or be reminded of really great, fun pop moments or fierce pop moments or whatever. I do want it to encourage education on certain social justice issues when I can. It's not necessarily my strongest suit, but I think it's important to help be a voice or amplify voices when possible. So if there's an opportunity there, I want that to be there too. But ultimately, I want it to be a space where people feel seen or um, represented, or just have a space that they can come to and just laugh without feeling like. I feel like there's so many. I mean, there is a part of humor that you like poke fun at people and stuff like that, but I don't want to be that account where I'm like tearing people down.
You want to be the uplifting
I
humor.
want to be uplifting humor. Exactly. I'll tear down when necessary, but but but
But but on the same token, some teardowns are still funny,
yeah,
even to the person you're tearing down. Like
absolutely.
it has to be the right environment. Read the room. Read the room.
Hey, read the room. It's important to learn to laugh at yourselves. It's Jerry Halliwell on her solo album is a song called "You're in a Bubble," and at the very beginning, she's like, "It's important to learn to laugh at ourselves. Don't take life too seriously."
Girl, you better have some British accent there, girl.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that's my hope for it. And I have some ideas with what I want to do with it, and some I'm talking with a friend about. I will also, with all these shout outs, I need to give a shout out to my friend Andrew Patty, who has been my person who I always show. He's like my editor in a way, and I mean, I don't get paid for these accounts, so he certainly is not getting paid. But so he is giving me so much free time over the past year, helping me come up with captions, or if I show him something and he's like, actually this would be really great, or we just bounce ideas off each other constantly. He's been a huge help. So he and I are in talks of actually potentially starting our own podcast. No offense.
No, I'm not offended.
It, it,
I want us all to succeed.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
absolutely. So
Well, I would be thrilled to come on if you ever wanted me to come on.
yeah, that'd be great. We'd love to have you. Yeah, it's I'm excited about it. It's something that is really brilliant. I can't talk about it just yet about what the idea is, but it's really exciting, and I really hope we're able to do it, because I when he told me about the idea, because he and I have been bouncing the ideas off each other back and forth for a while about this now. And one day he texted me and he told me what we should call it. And I can't say it right now, but I laughed uncontrollably, and I was like, this is it. This is our $1 million idea. So we have to do it. So
I love that.
yeah.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, you will always have the support of the Hey Girl podcast
Hey
in
girl.
anything that you do. So,
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. This has been wonderful. Thank you for having me.
of course, absolutely. So, I just want to, before we wrap it up, I want to give you just an opportunity to to say anything. If you were to have any words of wisdom or guidance to anyone listening that is hoping to follow in your footsteps.
Oh yeah. I mean, I guess be your authentic self and follow something that I've learned at a very young age. I don't know why or how I learned this. Follow your intuition, not to like be too Jewel, but like follow your intuition
Fine.
and follow your heart, right? Like it's, you know what you love, and you know what you're passionate about, and you know who you are. Follow that. And I know that we all come in different situations and scenarios, so be smart about it. I don't want people to put themselves in situations that are unsafe, but if you're trying to create a page that's for fun, do it. If you want to do something, if you feel like your identity is something that might be different from where your surroundings, investigate and try to pursue that if you can, in the safe spaces that you may have, or seek out safe spaces. So I guess overall my message is be your authentic self and trust your intuition, because you're usually always right.
Absolutely. I really love that. Well,
Yeah.
listen, thank you so much for sharing your time and your talent with us today, because I've really enjoyed it.
Well, this has been my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. This is my first podcast experience. This has been an absolute delight. So thank you so much for having me. I feel so honored that you've even asked me. So
No. Well, listen, it's honestly been such a pleasure. I've loved getting to know you, and I am just thoroughly enjoy your content. I think I said to you before we were even on the air that I think that your content brings me so much joy when I see it, even in that 2 to 10 second clip of whatever you create. I hope you know that you touch lives. You really do touch lives every day. And we all know, as cliche as it sounds, we all know laughter is the best medicine in any situation. There's no situation that can't be solved with laughter and inclusivity and love. And I think that you are shifting the energy of our community in a bigger way than you may even realize. So bravo to you. And I'm honored that you came on the show.
thank you so much. That is like the biggest compliment. I appreciate that so much. I had no idea that I would touch the lives the way that I have. So that means so much, Bill. Thank you so much.
Awesome. No, it's all you, girl. So listen, if you like what you heard, I have to do my little shameless plug here.
Plug
If
it.
you like, yeah, if you like what you heard, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. New episodes every Friday. I am again thrilled and honored that we had Zach on today from A Functioning Gay as our debut episode of our Pride series. Check us out at heygirlpodcast.com. Girl is spelled with a U. We have merchandise. We also have monthly musical playlists, thanks to our friends at Spotify. So you can always check out those out and listen to them any time of the day, whether you're working out or cleaning the house or in the car or other things. and there's just lots of fun additional things on there, more than the actual podcast itself. I love you. We all love you. And actually, let me take one little side note. Zach, since we share such a love and passion for pop music, would you be willing to create our July playlist?
Oh, sure. That'd be
Okay,
great.
girl.
Yeah.
So
Is there a theme in mind?
it's whatever you want, boo.
Love. Okay.
So you have creative control. So you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. The Girl Pride playlist did just drop yesterday from a dear friend of mine, Dr. Peter Bonafato. So check that out. That is on the website now. And Zach from A Functioning Gay will be creating our July playlist. So there's a lot to look forward to. And I really just love you all, girls. I hope you have a really fabulous and safe weekend. And Zach, I think you're amazing. So thank you.
You're amazing. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.
Absolutely. All right, girl.